Pure imagination. First of all, most of us, when we think of this song, I don't know about you, but I think the title is Imagination, and it's not. It's pure imagination. And here we are in the month of curiosity, and this song is absolutely perfect because we have to ask ourselves, what is pure imagination? Well, for me, that's what God is. God really is pure imagination, pure creative energy, the substance of the mind that is constantly creating whether we like it or not, and regardless of what we're doing. So really, pure imagination is that essence that you are. It's what you are, it's who you are, it's what you do, it's what does you. Pure imagination. I don't think we spend enough time remembering that. We think we're a lot of other things, like the I am in the meditation. I am this, and this. No, really, I am pure imagination. Because the real answer is, I am that God essence. I am that energy that God is. I am that creativity. So Albert Einstein said this: the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. How many times has somebody who's really smart and intelligent bored the hell out of you? Think about it. It's true. You know, my son has a teacher, who I won't name, who...
Thanks, he still has to graduate.
who is a brilliant teacher, is a brilliant repository of information. And the way this person, apparently, this is according to my son, the way he teaches puts them all to sleep. And it's so boring. The greatest teachers, like Preciosa, Dr. Preciosa, the greatest teacher are those people that tackle your imagination. They tap into your creativity. They make you excited about what they're saying because they see it in a different way. Ernest Holmes was like that. Why do you think this little 5'4", 5'5" man with very unassuming personality, with a voice that could be called annoying, brought thousands of people to hear him speak? Because he was creative, he was imaginative, he was looking at the old and seeing it in a new way. That's who you are. Do you get it? That in you that is creative is already seeing the world in a new way until you get in there and screw it up. That's what happens with our minds. So, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And I love this. Also, Einstein, he says, logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. So think about that too, the logical mind. How many of you are stuck in a logical mind that you have to make? Thank you, Peter. Peter went. So you're stuck in this logical mind that things have to make sense. Craig. Things have to make sense. I'm just going to call on all my students. Yeah, if it doesn't make sense, how am I supposed to figure it out? Well, how about using Martha too. How about using your imagination and letting it make sense without you logically beating the hell out of it? Think about that. So I love that idea. Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. Because it is everywhere. That's what imagination is. So Henry David Thoreau said this: the world is but a canvas to our imagination. When was the last time you used your imagination to paint the brushstrokes of your life in a way that was so different than you've ever done before? When was the last time you let your imagination lead you, guide you? Even if it seemed like it was the stupidest thing in the world to do. How many of you have ever had that moment where something in you is saying, do this, and then your logical mind is saying, oh my God, this is just the dumbest idea you've ever had? Barbara. Yeah. Did you do it, or did it stop you? Now, I know in this room, probably there are more doers than stoppers. But it's something to really look at as we get older. Because I have this sense that as we get older and we get more facts and we become more logical and we have more stories to talk about, we stop being imaginative and we are more logical. Now, I teach spiritual logic. Do you know why I teach spiritual logic? So that spiritual logic can combat relative logic. And relative logic is the logic you got from your relatives. Seriously. Or are continuing to get from your relatives, you know? So the relative world is just the relative world of form, and that kind of logic means I can prove it out here. Spiritual logic says I can prove it in here. Why can I prove it in here? Because it came to me. Because this idea came to me. Walt Disney had an idea to build an amusement park, to build not even an amusement park, but to build a world of pure imagination, right? And it was an amazing idea. It was a crazy idea, really, but it didn't matter. He just did it. And it happened. Because from here to here, from the conscious mind to the world of form, there's not a big traverse. What there is interference. From here to here, I have to do this. I have to talk about this. She's not here today, Lori Gelman. When we were teaching the creative process in class, everybody was charged with doing their own version of the creative process, and there were like 20 of them. Wouldn't you say, Diane? About 20 different versions, each one more interesting. But one of our students is used to be one of the head writers of the Roseanne TV show. And she's very acerbic and very funny. And she got up and she drew the circle and she talked about the conscious mind being at the top. And for those of you who are like, what? It's the creative process. You know, you plant a seed into the soil and out comes a plant. We do that with our minds. We plant a thought into this law of cause and effect and it brings out whatever that thought is. So she says this. She says, conscious mind is Betty Davis. She had me right there. Because I've often thought my conscious mind is Betty Davis. What a dump. So conscious mind is Betty Davis. She says, and the law is the law. It does whatever you tell it to do. And whatever you tell it to do brings you to form. So she says, so Betty Davis one day was asked, what advice would you give to a young actress coming to Los Angeles? And Betty Davis thought about it and she said, take Fountain. I can tell by some of your faces you have no idea what I just said. Fountain is between Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset. Everyone wants to drive down Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset to be seen. Fountain's pretty open. Take Fountain. So Lori Gelman said, conscious mind is Betty Davis. And here's where you want to get to. So stay away from all of your crap in the middle and take Fountain. Is that not brilliant? I bet Ernest Holmes never explained this way. So I constantly am saying to myself now, James, take Fountain. Just take Fountain. Get out of the rubble of Hollywood and Vine. So this whole concept of the creative thought, that which is in you, that's really the whole idea of imagination. Before you get to all the crud and all that stuff in the middle, avoid it and come from your imagination. So Napoleon Hill said this. First comes thought, then organization of that thought into ideas and plans, then transformation of those plans into reality. The beginning, as you will observe, is in your imagination. So think about this. First comes thought. Well, that's actually not true. It's your mind, your individual mind. Your thoughts show up first, a desire. But behind that is pure imagination. The pure imagination of the universe, untouched, unblemished, unchallenged by anything you know. This pure perfection, those ideas that come to you and you're just like, before you start questioning it, that idea, that spark of creation, that's what we have the opportunity to back ourselves into and think from there, move from there, grow from there, give ourselves the opportunity to act from there. You know, you can go there. That's what I loved about this song. Just follow me. Go into a world of pure imagination, where everything is possible. When we were children, we were born into a world where everything seemed possible. How many of you played as children? Some of you are like, I don't remember. But think about it. We played as children. I used to take Parcheesi. What was that game? Parcheesi. What had the little things that looked like people? Parcheesi. I didn't like Parcheesi. I thought it was boring. So what I did, I would take the Parcheesi people, and turn them into people, the pieces. And I'd put like toilet paper on them as like bridal veils. And I would just have these amazing things going on all over my bedroom. And then I would use the Monopoly figures too, so that they could have little houses and stuff. Oh, and then the houses, never to play the boring game they told me to play, but to be imaginative with it. I remember once my mother coming in and looking at, she was like, what are you doing? I said, I'm playing. She goes, what is it? And I tried to explain it to her and she got bored. But that's the kind of imagination I'm talking about. Before you grew up and became an adult. Before you grew up and had all the reasons why this can't happen. That's what Napoleon Hill's talking about. And you know what else? Napoleon Hill's talking about what Troward talks about, which is called the divine ideal. The divine ideal is that perfect place in you. It's same as Christ consciousness. That place in you, before anything cruds it up, that place in you that is just perfect, pure, individual creative energy. And it moves through you. Now, your personality and all that stuff that you've created with your life is what it mixes with as it comes into mind. But I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot this last 10 weeks of teaching this course, there is a way for us all to back ourselves away from this personality that we've created, this mind that we've created, to back ourselves away from all of the relative facts and the relatives that have taught us certain things and step back into this pure place where all there is idea. Now, what Napoleon Hill also talks about is first comes thought. So let's just say, here you are in this beautiful world of pure imagination. And now the thoughts come to you. First comes thought. Then organization of thought into ideas and plans. That's the part he's talking about where you start getting involved with that idea. I believe it is possible for us to stay at the top level of consciousness as we're forming these plans and ideas, as opposed to dropping into our mind where we come with all of our beliefs. Go past the belief. Go to that place where the beliefs don't even come into play. And then he says, then transformation of those plans into reality. Or take Fountain. That's really what she was talking about. Not Betty Davis, Laurie Gelman. That's what she was talking about. Because that's the place up here, the pure imagination, where we allow the plans and ideas and the thoughts, all of it to come in, and then avoid all of the naysayers. Avoid all of those things that tell us we can't, or that this isn't the right way to do it. Because I believe that intuition lives up here. And if we are willing to be intuitive and really tap into that in us, that thing that is always saying, yes, this is who you are. You can do anything. The title of my talk today is Just Imagine. Just imagine. That's beautiful, Barbara. Look at that for a moment. Some of those things shouldn't be there in my logical mind, right? How often do you think this shouldn't be here, as opposed to saying, wow, what a beautiful possibility. That is just beautiful. So what if we didn't let go of our imagination when we moved into thought, and then plans, and then action? What if we were able to stay with that pure imagination as we thought, as we moved, as we took action, even as we interacted? I'm not saying we should go up to a mountaintop, cross our legs, and stay away from everything. I'm saying I believe we can step into a an idea of living and existing and cohabitating with one another, which keeps us in that pure imagination at all times. It's a partner in us, as us. That's where we're headed, I believe. Where anything that seems opposite to what we believe really feels out of place. We don't incorporate it into our lives. We understand it as being out of place. What if imagination became our partner in all of our dealings, in all of our thinking? What if we never let go of pure imagination? Ever, ever. We would stop closing our mind off. We would stop judging what is. We'd stop thinking we know what we're looking at and judging it based on what we think. We'd be curious. We'd allow for something else, something bigger perhaps, to come forward. We would lose that feeling of helplessness as though this is what it is. How many of you have ever gotten to a place where you go, wow, this is what it is? It's not. This isn't what it is. We would instead always be open to the more. What if we let the imagination carry us throughout our whole lives? There's a little story I want to tell you. When I was a director, I was directing a production of Cabaret, and Kevin was in it. It was this beautiful, big production. And I had worked with John Kander to be allowed to use a lot of the movie music in the play. So the actress playing Sally Bowles was singing Maybe This Time, which is not in the play. So she's on stage singing Maybe This Time, and it's an enormous set, all hydraulic. And I'm sitting out in the house all by myself with some technical people, and we're watching this dress rehearsal, and she's singing Maybe This Time, and somehow the set started moving. They got a cue in the wrong place. And as she's singing the end of Maybe This Time, the set started to move and change into the next piece. And the girl, Donna Kane, started getting a little frazzled, as any actress would, whose set pieces started flying around her. And the orchestra kept playing, and she kept singing and she just got more and more frustrated by the set pieces, and then the set pieces all got stuck and had to stop. And really, all they're waiting for is me on what then was called the God mic. Who knew? That it was in the perfect hands. And so my job on the God mic was to yell, stop, and then everything would stop. But I didn't. I was so mesmerized by what I was seeing. It was so fabulous. Everybody stopped. The song ended. One of the stagehands, thinking he was being funny, went, and Donna turned around and just looked at him and was like, this is just the worst production I've ever been in, probably going through her mind. And she just walked off stage. And I was like, that's it. This is how we have to do this number. Remember that night, that day? And it was hell broke loose. The producer came to me, the actors, the stagehands were like, we're not doing this. And I just held my ground and I went, there is one director, and it happens to be me, and you're all doing this. This is how this number goes. Because you've just shown me Sally Fields' entire work. Sally Fields. You like me, you really like me. Sally Bowles' entire world falling apart, and her at the lowest moment in her life, right after she had done everything that she'd done in her life, and she walked off stage. I was like, oh my God. Now, here's the deal. I didn't think that up. I didn't sit somewhere planning it and going, well, if the set broke down and maybe, and then she gets pissed off and she goes off the stage, that's a brilliant moment. No, because somewhere in pure imagination, it knew exactly what to do, but I had to be prayed up enough to be standing in my truth and going, I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's all wrong. Everything about it's wrong, and yet it's all right. Everything about it is right. Who do you think won that fight? And the New York Times review of the show said, James Mellon has not just revived Cabaret, he has reinvented it. And I was like, all because some stage crew person called the cue to move the set. Because the rest of the show was good. It was a very good show. But this moment those are the moments I'm asking you to let happen in your life. When you see something that has just gone totally wrong, to understand there is something totally right in it. And that's our job as religious scientists. That's our job as new thought leaders. That's our job just in understanding who we are, to see the truth, the good in all things, to step back into pure imagination and let that be the way you live your life. So, Ernest Holmes wrote this: "Things are ideas in form. What else could they be? There is nothing from which to make things but ideas. In the beginning, we hold nothing visible. There is only an infinite possibility, a limitless imagination, a consciousness. The only action of this consciousness is being an idea. Your pure imagination is your conscious mind before you affect it with your personality." So this week, I want you to do something for me. I want you to see how much pure imagination you can infuse into your life. I want you to see if you can notice when you move from pure imagination into cognitive thinking, into starting to compare, starting to judge, starting to understand at your level. I want to see if you can really place the difference when you are in this place of inspiration and creativity and when it drops into something else. And then I want you to see if you can actually do them both simultaneously. If you don't go from here into here, but you take this with you as you think. And always allow for something bigger to be known. Always allow for something more imaginative than you've even imagined to take place right in front of you. That's pure curiosity. That's pure imagination. So the song Pure Imagination is from Willy Wonka. And in the 1991 Gene Wilder movie, they changed the theme a little bit. They changed the story. He had to give the chocolate factory away in the movie because he had to give it to a child because he believed that adults would not know how to keep it pure. I think if we look back to creative life and we look back to the way the world we think in a spiritual sense was formed, I think we're living that exact story. We have to go back to being our childlike self because that which brought us forward and gave us this amazing creative world, I don't think it wants the adults who think they understand it to be running the shop. I think they want our young creative selves, our young innocent selves, our young purely imaginative selves to take over. We all saw the walkouts in the schools this week. That's who needs to take over this world. So that in you needs to take over your life. And if you'll be willing to do that, and if you'll be willing to go back to that childlike truth that is yours right here, right now, fully orbed, fully present, that pure imagination, then I would just invite you to come with me. And you will be in a world of pure imagination. Namaste.